Hey y'all, welcome back to Adventuring with Amanda. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new to my channel, then welcome. In this video, I am talking about why I did not remove the seats from my current minivan camper. I drive a 2018 Dodge Grand Caravan, and many people know that this minivan is famous for the stow and go seating. It is super easy to put your seats into the floor, and that's one of the reasons why I love the Dodge Grand Caravan. I previously had a 2011 Dodge Grand Caravan, also with the stow and go seats. In that minivan, I did remove all of the seats. So like this video and subscribe to my channel if you are new here, and I'm going to tell you why I took out the seats in my first minivan and left them in this one. I bought my 2011 Dodge Grand Caravan in 2020 during the height of COVID, and that's when I started van life. I paid $3,500 for my van. It had 115,000 miles on it, and it was in pretty good shape. But since I paid cash for it, I was new to van life and I wasn't really sure what I was getting myself into. I decided to just go ahead and remove all of the seats. Since I owned the vehicle outright and didn't owe anything on it, I was like, heck with it. I'm just going to make all the changes that I want, and I'll deal with the seats in the future if I need to. So at the time, I planned on taking, 4 to 6 week trips at a time. And I figured after the research I had done on YouTube that I'd want to remove the seats so I had the storage underneath. Now, the seats are pretty difficult to remove in these newer Dodge Grand Caravans, so I actually had my mechanic friend do it for me. And then at the time, I just kept the seats in a garage at my apartment complex. So he removed them for me, and then I had the recessed space in the back of my van and the space right here, kind of where I'm sitting, for what I thought would be storage. Now, what I quickly realized was if you're building in a van and you have the storage where the two like captain's chairs go, it all sounds really nice until you actually have to access the floor. And if your bed and your fridge is on it, which was my circumstance, you have to move that stuff in order to get into the storage. So I ended up not using it because it was such a pain to have to move all of my stuff to get into that storage. So ultimately, for my design, it wasn't worth it to remove these two middle seats. And I will go back and talk about the other seats. But so in this van, I left them in, and I'm glad that I did, because when the seats are in there, and this is a newer van and I still have a low payment on it, so just in case for like trading in and resale, I wanted to keep the seats in the van, but I realized I'm never going to use that as storage, so I'm going to leave the seats in. It's a pain in the butt to take them out anyways, and it's a pain in the butt to have to store them, and they are heavy. So the seats are in, and I'm glad, because when the seats are out, that space where the seat is supposed to go into the floor, it's not as like the top of it might start bowing in. So you have to build over that appropriately. Otherwise that plastic will start bowing in and it could crack or break if you're like sitting on it or crawling on it or whatever you're doing. So I'm really glad I left those in. Now, granted, if you take your seats out, that eliminates a lot of weight from your van, which is nice, for gas mileage. It probably doesn't make a huge difference, maybe 1 or 2 miles per gallon, but it's way more of a pain to deal with the weight of lifting the seats and moving them and storing them and doing all of that. So now let's talk about the back row. Firstly, this single back seat is really nice to have in place because you can sit on it. You can use it as a lounge chair, and then you have this floor space. I have this ottoman here that has my toilet in it, and so you can literally sit in the seat and use the ottoman and have a really cozy place to sit. But this is my dog's bed, Winston's bed, and right now it has, my folded blankets on it, but it works out great because not only is it his bed, but it's also an incredibly comfortable seat. Now, since I do have that seat up, that means it's not in the floor. So this space in the trunk is recessed. Now with that recessed space, I'm able to put a storage container that has a bunch of miscellaneous backup items, laundry detergent, toilet paper, things like that. And then I can put my shelf on it and things to the side. The double seat in the back row is in the floor. So as you can see, this is the seat, and I was able to set my shelves on it and use it as storage. Now, if it was recessed in there and the seats were out, then I would have to do something like I did over here and put something down, because if you try and put the shelf in the floor, you're not going to be able to access what's on the bottom. So it's nice. I have a little bit of the best of both worlds here. I have the seat that I can use. I have the recessed space for storage, but then this is nice and flat, easy with the seats in, and I was able to put my shelf on it. Ultimately, I've had a Dodge Grand Caravan with the seats removed and the seats in. I would not remove seats again in the future. I'm glad that I did it with my 2011 so I could get that experience, but I'm even more happy that I left them in with this van. And since it is a 2018, I really don't plan on being in this forever. I probably will get a bigger van at some point. And when it comes to trading it in or resale, it will sell or trade so much better and quicker with the seats in it and untouched. I have not used the double seat in the back or the captain's chairs literally since I bought the van in 2021. So the seats are still in pristine condition, and when I go to trade it or sell it, I can literally take everything out of the van, put the seats back up, and it's going to look like a perfectly normal minivan that has not been touched or messed with. Everybody has their preferences, but that is ultimately why I decided not to remove the seats in this minivan, and I have zero regrets. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it was helpful to you. Remember to drop it a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.